The Nintendo Direct Mini that went down yesterday seemed to disappoint quite a few Nintendo fans, but did you know that more games got announced in the Japanese version of the Direct? Some new Halo Infinite leaks have hit the internet right before the big Xbox Series X presentation, and finally, a big update on Game Pass potentially coming to the Nintendo Switch is given, but you might not like what you hear. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So of course yesterday Nintendo held a Nintendo Direct Mini Partners presentation, which was basically a small Nintendo Direct Mini showcasing games from third-party developers that had already been previously announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now a lot of people had high expectations for this. I think my expectations were pretty much in check. I was hoping to hear about games like No More Heroes 3 or Doom Eternal coming to the Nintendo Switch, but what we ended up getting was definitely a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people really care about WWE Battlegrounds coming to the Nintendo Switch. I mean, I'm going to review the game just because I'm a wrestling fan, but really, the game doesn't look very good. Games like Cadence of Hyrule are very cool, but announcing DLC for it, I feel like that could have been done in a different way, you know, just releasing a trailer talking about it, more so than putting it in a Nintendo Direct Mini presentation. Then, of course, we got all the Shin Megami Tensei stuff, which is admittedly very cool for fans of the franchise, but you still only got a CG trailer of Shin Megami Tensei 5, you still haven't seen any gameplay from it, and then the presentation wrapped up. Well, the Japanese presentation for the Nintendo Direct Mini actually had some additional games in it that I think looked pretty interesting. Now, the first game was Atelier Ryza 2, Lost Legends, and The Secret Fairy. Now, I've seen people talk about this game on Twitter. I honestly don't know anything about it. I watched the trailer. It seems like this game will be coming out in winter of 2020, and really, it's not something I would personally play. I don't really think this is my style of game, but I think if you are a fan of these styles of games, it does look very interesting. The graphics itself look very nice. The combat seems fun, the traversal system seems different, so, you know, it looks okay. You know, it looks like a game that probably would have been well accepted in the Nintendo Direct Mini in North America, but for whatever reason, this was not included. And then we got a game called Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which is a game that is coming out in November, and honestly, I think this game looks really cool. It reminds me a lot of Muramasa the Demon Blade, which of course came out on the Nintendo Wii, and really just Vanillaware games in general. I think the art style is really nice, and the combat seems really fun as well. So it's like, why were these games not also included in the North American Nintendo Direct? I guess maybe you wanted to include things like Battlegrounds and Rogue Company because they look sort of like more Western style games, but when you're talking about games like Shin Megami Tensei, you're obviously trying to get into that Japanese influenced audience who enjoys those style of games, so why not include as many games as possible as you could do in this? Look, just to clarify, the Nintendo Direct Mini for me yesterday was disappointing for a myriad of reasons, not even necessarily because the games that were talked about didn't necessarily interest me. I just thought as a Nintendo Direct Mini overall, it was weak. Compared to every other Nintendo Direct Mini we have ever gotten, it was the shortest and it had the least amount of games, and really, there wasn't a great game variety in this. If you enjoyed the Nintendo Direct Mini yesterday, my hat's off to you. I'm not gonna take off my actual hat because I like wearing hats, but that's definitely cool with me. But I do think that people do have the right to be a bit skeptical and maybe a bit let down by this Nintendo Direct Mini presentation just because of how Nintendo seems to be handling 2020 thus far. It's definitely going to be a very interesting rest of the year, but I think these two games could have made a positive impact when people viewed the Nintendo Direct Mini if they were included in the North American version of it. So let me know in the comment section down below if either of these games interest you, because I really think that Sakuna of Rice and Ruin looks really cool, and this is a game that I probably will pick up and enjoy. Next up, the Microsoft Xbox Series X presentation is of course happening this Thursday, and all eyes are on Microsoft and their first-party titles. Obviously, one of the big first-party titles from Microsoft is going to be Halo Infinite. This is a game that's been in development for quite a while now, and people have been patiently anticipating this game, and really, I don't talk about the series much, but I am a Halo fan. Now, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I've never completed a Halo campaign. I know, get angry in the comments section. The story's great in Halo. I can't believe you've never beaten it, but I don't know. I just never got around to beating any of them because they didn't really captivate me. I am all about the Halo multiplayer experience. That is always my most fun. That is where I spend all of my time playing Halo, and I do enjoy the Halo franchise. So I personally am looking forward to seeing details about Halo Infinite. Well, in a Reset Era thread, a leaker talked about some of the things to expect that will be seen during Halo Infinite's showcasing on Thursday for the Xbox Series X event, and basically talking about some gameplay stuff and gameplay types of mode. One of the more interesting things was that there's going to be a grappling hook in Halo Infinite. It's supposedly not going to be used very often. It's going to be sort of light in the game, but I think that is interesting because we did see that grappling hook mechanic used in Doom Eternal. So maybe that's sort of a new way that first-person shooters are trying to advance by using a sort of grappling hook mechanic, something that we've seen in other games before, but it seems to be becoming a more prominent thing as well. Allegedly, there's also going to be a thing called Halo Infinite Arena, which is all about classic map control. There's going to be power-ups on the map and power weapons on the map, and there's lots of different power-ups to sort of complement the area that you are playing in. So this seems like it'll be a fun game mode, but it does seem like I said, the grapple hook, thrust, and other classic things like overshield are going to be dynamic in the game, meaning that it'll be based on things like the playlist, how many people are playing, what type of game mode you have, and etc. Now, there's going to be more information on this allegedly at the Xbox Series X event, but obviously Halo Infinite is going to have a very strong multiplayer component because that's what a lot of people play Halo for, I feel. Like, yes, I'm sure the single player stuff is great. There are people that absolutely love the story, but for me, I just want to jump in and play the game online with my friends and check out all of the different game modes. I think it will be interesting to see how they implement the power-up system. Will it be sort of a thing where you choose a power-up at the start of a match and then that is the power-up you have until you decide to choose otherwise, like we've seen in previous Halo games? Or is it going to be stuff that you pick up on the map? Obviously, there's going to be things like SWAT on there and stuff, you know, their basic game modes, you know, your basic TDMs as well. But obviously, I'm really looking forward to seeing Halo Infinite. I really want to see also the graphics of the game, obviously, with the Xbox Series X being the most powerful system on the market, how they're going to cultivate this power and make it look better than the Xbox One version of the game. But I think the Xbox Series X event is going to be a lot of fun. Of course, we will be doing a video of it on the channel, and maybe we'll even go live for it. Let me know if you want me to do a live thing in the comments section down below, or if you prefer the reaction style videos that I usually do with these presentations. Either way though, I will be watching it and I am really looking forward to it. And finally, one of the hottest rumors of last year was, of course, the potential of Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, Game Pass is a Microsoft Xbox property where you basically pay a monthly subscription fee and you have access to a whole variety of games. Now, a lot of this spurned on with the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo seemingly being very positive. You have games like Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead coming to the Nintendo Switch, which, of course, were first-party titles for the Xbox brand of systems. So it seemed like this partnership, this working relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo seemed to be becoming stronger, and really that sort of makes sense. When you look at Microsoft in Japan, you realize something very quickly. Microsoft doesn't have any sort of foothold in Japan. Nobody really cares about Microsoft in Japan. It's all about either a Nintendo platform or a Sony platform. The Xbox brand has always been a drastic failure in Japan, so what better way to get people to play Xbox related games than to implement something like Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch? Obviously, that's one of the reasons why they're putting their games on the Nintendo Switch, because they want as many people as possible to play their games, and that's sort of their business philosophy. Look at how Phil Spencer has said that they don't want generational stopgaps to stop people from playing their games. Of course, you have things like xCloud, you have things like Game Pass, you have things like PC Game Pass as well. So Microsoft seems to be more concerned about people just playing their games more so than actually buying their hardware, which has pretty much been their sort of stance going for the past few years now. Well, sort of, because now it seems like Game Pass will not be coming to the Nintendo Switch or any other platforms, according to a recent interview with Phil Spencer. The thing about other gaming console platforms is we're not bringing a full Xbox experience on these platforms. In places we have brought Xbox, like mobile phones, which we're doing now with Project xCloud with Game Pass Ultimate, and what we've done with PC and bringing our full Xbox experience there. We know when somebody is playing one of our Xbox games, there's an expectation that they have their Xbox Live community, they have their achievements. Game Pass is an option for me. My first-party library is completely there. The other competitive platforms really aren't interested in having a full Xbox experience on their hardware, but for us, we want to be where gamers want to be, and that's the path that we're on. So I find that very interesting because yes, I could understand why Sony wouldn't want Xbox Game Pass to be on there, because Sony is pretty much the polar opposite of what we've seen with Microsoft this generation. Sony does feel that, you know, console generation gaps are a good thing because it implements more power and it gives more power to developers to create their games with this additional power without without having to worry about throttling it to work for a variety of systems. But I think the Nintendo Switch would be a great fit for something like Game Pass, because Nintendo Switch isn't a competitor for Microsoft. The Nintendo Switch is sort of its own little thing, and that's just how Nintendo has been since the Wii days. They really haven't gone head to head with companies like Sony and Microsoft, and whether fans agree with that or not, at the end of the day, that's just sort of Nintendo's philosophy. So I think it's strange that Microsoft doesn't want to put something like Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch, because of the fact that it would do well for them. It would do well for them in terms of getting more people to sign up for Game Pass, because I'm sure a lot of Nintendo Switch owners would want a Game Pass-like experience on their system. It would do well in Japan as well, because of course you have all of these consumers who don't care about Microsoft and Microsoft related games now playing Microsoft related games on their Nintendo Switch, thus giving Microsoft revenue for things like Game Pass. It just seems kind of counterintuitive to their whole game message of play your games wherever you want, but they don't necessarily want to put their Game Pass service on additional hardware. Now obviously this can change. Microsoft does sort of go back and forth with things. Remember that Xbox One Connect was the most important thing in the world, and you had to have Xbox One Connect in order to enjoy your Xbox One, but that quickly went by the wayside. But I don't know. I guess time will tell with this situation. Maybe we'll get more information on things like Game Pass and Xbox Live. Of course, there's a lot of rumors about Xbox Live potentially going free as well. That will be talked about at the Xbox Series X event this Thursday. But as far as Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, which I think is a bit of a missed opportunity. Alright, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel as well. We got a Paper Mario review. We got some eShop sales to talk about. We've got, of course, the Nintendo Direct reaction. I highly suggest you watch that video because, well, a lot of people seem to be angry with me about it, but I think I made some good points. And as always, folks, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.